Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 148 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian, and we have a jam-packed show. Probably not going to be a super Cody length episode, but it'll probably be somewhere between a Cody and a Ken. But because we do have we don't have a lot of first chop items. We do have an amazing interview with our good friends, the Ghost Girl Greetings, which we actually had on. I think if everyone remembers the story, we actually did an interview with them previously. Last holiday season, and due to a horrendous technical glitch, we lost the entire interview. So we've been always wanting to have them back on, which we were able to organize that this week, and they were gracious enough to come back on, and we think they're awesome. So this was such a fun conversation to have. So, and I think you guys will all love to hear about all their cool products.
Yeah, that was our famous lost episode,
Yeah.
But we have rectified the situation. We're now back to square one, and we have no more lost episodes in the back.
I think
catalog.
we're all caught up.
We're all caught up.
Everything that we lost, we have regained.
So you guys have heard all of our content. There's
Yes.
nothing left on the cutting room floor. But yeah, no, seriously, guys, you guys are going to absolutely love their products, and they've expanded now, which I did not know. Beyond the greeting cards, they're doing stickers and bookmarks and all kinds of cool stuff. So. We're going to give you all the information on how to find their products later on in our interview.
And you'll just like them too, because they're both really awesome people.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. All right, guys, we'll get to that right after our first chop. Okay, Brian, the Hammer Horror Project continues steadily on, and the next up on my list was The Hound of the Baskervilles from 1959. And I hesitated on whether to put this into the horror project because obviously this is based off the Sherlock Holmes novel, and I don't really consider that horror. I consider that mystery. But when I looked on IMDb, they did classify it as the horror keyword, and that's usually my gold standard. And the other reason I decided to put it in was because it stars Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, and it has that same kind of horror aesthetic that Hammer is known for. So they kind of portray it as a little bit more, maybe a little more scary feeling than your typical mystery movie. So I decided, yeah, why not? Let's just go ahead and put it in. Again, 1959, and Peter Cushing plays Sherlock Holmes, and he's a fantastic Sherlock Holmes. I'm sure most people think of Basil Rathbone as the definitive film Sherlock Holmes, but Peter Cushing has kind of that same profile, the sharp nose, and he kind of has that whole Sherlock Holmes vibe going on anyway, so he makes an excellent Holmes. Christopher Lee plays Henry Baskerville, who inherits the Baskerville estate, and he is almost unrecognizable in this role because you see him not as a monster or a vampire or any of the other roles he's played. He's actually just a clean-shaven, youthful-looking gentleman in this movie. So it was really neat to see Christopher Lee playing just a completely straight role, which you don't get to see that often. Usually he's playing some kind of villain, and this one he's not. He's just a standard, upstanding Englishman, and it's great.
Sounds like a film historian.
Yeah, he's doing his best film historian cosplay in this one.
Oh,
but
nice.
You guys probably know the story if you're any kind of Sherlock Holmes fan. It's one of the most famous Sherlock Holmes stories.
This is actually one I read, Tim. I actually read like a elementary version of it. No pun intended there. An elementary school version,
Yeah, right.
I should say. When I was a kid, I remember this was one of my favorite books when I was a kid.
Yeah, so it follows the same standard plot as what you're familiar with, and I can't say that it really blew me away because, and maybe just it's over familiarity with the story. I'm just watching something I've seen so many times on film and in books, and I've read over and over. So it didn't impress me from that aspect, but I did really enjoy Peter Cushing's Holmes, and I really enjoyed Christopher Lee as playing the straight role. And it's a solid movie. It's a solid entry. This story has been adapted so many times. I'm sure it's been done better in other films. I don't think I've ever seen every version of this, so I don't know how this one stands compared to other versions of it. But it was Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. I mean, you can't go wrong there. So that's the Hound of the Baskervilles. Now, after this one, we're going to get into fully Hammer horror, because next one up is going to be The Mummy. Of course, Christopher Lee starring in that one as well. And then it's pretty much all like straight horror, no ambiguity from here on out. So I'm looking forward to that.
That'll be cool when you get to that, because everyone's probably like, why is Tim watching these non-horror things
which
here? They're not always horror here.
I will say though, just like I said with The Snorkel the other day, it was one of those movies I would have never watched except for this project, and it was outstanding. I absolutely loved it. So, and then I would have probably never watched this version of Hound of the Baskervilles if not for this project. So it does introduce you to stuff that you may never have otherwise watched, and I really enjoy that part of the project, things that we do.
Nice. Well, speaking of things that I never might have watched, leads to my project here. Which actually, the funny thing is, I had seen this one years and years ago, but and my Amityville project is now back on now that I got my awesome Vinegar Syndrome Amityville Cursed box set with those 4 movies, which is Evil Escapes, It's About Time, Dollhouse, and I think the Amityville Curse. I forgot the other one. No, that's the newer one. Sorry, I forgot the other one. But either way, the one that was up next in the series here was the Amityville, The Evil Escapes. And so that one was technically sometimes dubbed Amityville 4. It was a straight-to-TV movie. And I will say, for a straight-to-TV movie, it had some scenes of gore that I was surprised. I don't know if that was maybe added in later, but it definitely seems like there was maybe it was a cable. I'm not sure where it originally aired, so maybe that's why it had some more surprising gore in it. But this one was really interesting. So this is one of those Amityville movies where the main events of the films don't take place in Amityville, Long Island. However, at least in this one, they explain it. They don't just say it's Amityville, the Amityville legend, and it takes place in
San Francisco,
Death Valley.
Yeah.
So what happens here? The premise of this is it starts off with a bang. I will tell you that. So I was actually like, oh, I don't remember this being so good opening here, and it's basically some father and a priest are trying to really try and like fight this evil, and they're going through the house, and things are flying at them, and doors are lying, and everything's going on, and basically there's this really creepy lamp that kind of almost looks like a character that would be in that like harvest section of Halloween Horror Nights, where it's like a twisted thing with a pumpkin head, except instead of a pumpkin head, it's just a bowl like lamp, one of those like weird lamp tops.
Yes.
So so this thing is, this creepy lamp is in there. It's left, and basically they are convinced that the evil is now out of this house, and so eventually all the artifacts of this house are sold off. And this one elderly woman decides, oh, this is great. She sees this at a garage sale, so she wants to buy it as her sister as kind of a joke. I guess they have this thing going back and forth where they kind of joke with each other.
Oh, my gosh.
You remember it?
I remember this movie, Brian. I watched this not too long ago, like within the last year or two, because that lamp is the ugliest lamp I've ever seen in my life.
That's funny. Okay, so good. I'm glad, because now you can commiserate in me with what I saw. Because this thing, this movie, just it was like... for some reason, like half the characters had an expression on their face for the entire movie, no matter what was going on. Like each character had their own like standard face that was like, no matter what, literally what could be happening. If they were supposed to be laughing, they're supposed to be running for their lives. It was always the same expression. I don't get it. And it's like, and Patty Duke in it, who I think is an amazing actress. In the beginning, I remember I was watching this, and Julie was kind of watching. She's like, "What's with the acting in this?" And I'm like, "Well, it was originally a TV movie." She goes, "Oh, that makes sense." And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, and she goes, "Who's that?" And pointed out Patty Duke. I said, "Oh, that's Patty Duke. I mean, she's really good actress." Yeah. I'm surprised, but it's like almost like she doesn't deserve the acting like the effort she's putting in to this movie. But then at the end, it seems like for some reason, I don't know, either the movie caught up with her or she caught up with it. But that like the over dramatic sequences at the end were just like, I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? But there was just like the one scene, I don't know if you remember, with the kid where the chainsaw goes by itself and starts acting
I've
up.
blocked this movie from my mind, Brian.
Oh my God. Well, I think it's on Tubi also, so I think you could see it for free. It's on Tubi or one of those free streaming services now. And you always got to watch it. But I mean, I know this is not, I mean, like, look, we watch Scare Package, right? Where we laugh out loud. That's intentional. I should not have been laughing out loud as much as I was in this movie. I mean, so yeah, trigger warning. There's a little bit of animal cruelty in this, unintentional, of course, but it happens. And yeah, this one just is. I mean, you know what? I will give points because like I said, I always try and find, you know, well, you do too. We always seem to try and at least find something good.
Yes.
About a movie. What I will say is I do think the premise is interesting at that point because you've had 3 movies now take place in the same Amityville house. How many times, you know, if you go back to when they were going to make this, how many times are you going to do the same story? So the fact that they at least went and, you know, kind of decided to take it out of the house, and they found a creative way to do that, basically saying that the evil was now transferred itself, or they keep using the word transfiguration or something, into the lamp. And so that was pretty, you know, and that just explains how it got across the country. I mean, I'll tell you that it's a lot more believable that the lamp and the evil got across from Amityville Island to California than the shark in Jaws the Revenge found its way from Amity to wherever it found it, to the Bahamas or whatever.
Well, and that's a little ahead of its time. I mean, The Conjuring is all about how the Warrens had these haunted items that the evil was transferred to them, and then you've got like those ghost shows where it's all about haunted items and haunted dolls and stuff. So, I can kind of see it being a little bit. I mean, not that that's a new idea, but I don't remember seeing really many movies about like a haunted item transferring stuff between houses and stuff. That's kind of I kind of like the idea of that. Yeah.
That's the thing. The premise is good, and also okay. So I did find out it was for the NBC network, so it was on NBC. So actually, then kind of thumbs up for the gore that they did show in this for a network movie. And also, this one thing we should say is that this was directed by Sander Stern, who actually penned the script for the original Amityville Horror. So. It makes me wonder where kind of it went wrong a little bit. I don't know if it was just well, okay, let's put it this way. Some people can write, some people can direct, maybe some people can't do both. I don't know. But it's just the performances were awkward, I think, and that's really what I think took me out of it and made me laugh at a bunch of scenes, and I feel bad. But but yeah, so that is Amityville, The Evil Escapes. So I mean, you know what? There are worse Amityville movies, I guarantee you, in this journey that I am taking. So
yeah, you're just getting started.
Although it's about time. One of our listeners, David, had told us that this one, he really liked this one. He can't wait till I get up to that one, and that one is in this box set, so that should be up to that one shortly.
Fairly soon, yeah. We did have some sad news we forgot to mention before the first chop, and that is actually today. Joel Schumacher passed away. I believe he was 80 at the age of 80.
80 years old. So, I mean, it's, you know what? He lived a really long, good life. So.
Yeah. Now, I had my period of time where I despised Joel Schumacher. And the reason why was I was such a huge Batman fan. And Joel Schumacher infamously torpedoed the Batman franchise that Tim Burton had started in 1989 with the Michael Keaton Batmans, and then he comes along and does Batman Forever in 1995 and completely just takes everything that I loved about Batman and threw it out the window and turned it into this campy romp with these weird sexual undertones. I did not care for Batman.
You got bat nipples.
Yeah, you had the bat nipple thing. I mean, the Batman Forever and Batman Robin are terrible, terrible movies. And I never found it in my heart to forgive Joel Schumacher for those.
Aw.
But I will have to say, time has softened my stance against him. And when I look back on his resume, there are some movies in there that I absolutely love. First and foremost, as horror fans, The Lost Boys from 1987. Right. I mean, that's just a all-time classic.
Yes.
And he did some other, like St. Elmo's Fire is a classic from
Incredible Shrinking Woman.
Incredible Shrinking
That was
Woman.
a great comedy growing up. When I grew up, that was like... Yeah.
Flatliners, 1990. Fantastic movie. I loved Flatliners. Falling Down from 1993. Again, not horror, but a fantastic movie. I went through a time where I read a lot of John Grisham, and he did 2 John Grisham adaptations. The Client in 94, A Time to Kill in 1996. Those were all very solid. And one that some people may have forgotten about that I just absolutely loved was 8mm from 1999, which was a Nicolas Cage production.
Yes, of course, yes.
Yeah, I really, really liked that movie. He went on to, after that, starting in the 2000s, I guess he was getting older, you start seeing him. He did some stuff, but nothing ever approached the level, I don't think, of the success of those movies. And then he stopped altogether in 2013. I think his last director credit was 2 episodes of House of Cards for Netflix. But so as much as I despised what he did to the Batman franchise, there's some movies on there that are just absolute horror classics that you really have to respect.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny with the Batman one. It's like I kind of like I thought I kind of enjoyed Batman Forever because of Jim Carrey, and at the time, like, Jim Carrey was that was a big casting on it, so I kind of liked that, but I still thought it was, when Batman Returns was my favorite out of the whole bunch. Mm-hmm. And so that to me was obviously a major step down. And then Batman and Robin, I just, other than, I will have to say, I mean, I love the campiness of Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I wish you could have just taken that out and put it in something else.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, there's a certain charm to the casting, because it was almost like a fan fiction level of casting. Hey, let's make Jim Carrey the Riddler. Let's make Arnold Schwarzenegger Mr. Freeze. Let's make Uma Thurman Poison Ivy. Let's make Alicia Silverstone Batgirl. I mean, all this was like stunt casting, really. If you think about
the whole thing was
was stunt casting. Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face. I mean, it was just so over the top that, in a way, I look back on it. Again, like I said, I've really softened my hatred of him, a hatred of those movies over the years, just because you look back and you just kind of got to laugh because it's just so silly. But
yeah. Well, you know what, and it's funny. One of the things was, and I don't, obviously, when you change the Batmans, it becomes an issue too. Because Michael Keaton, I thought, was amazing, but not only was he amazing as Batman, I thought he nailed the Bruce Wayne. And see, that's what I don't think Val Kilmer, for me, or George Clooney did. I don't think they got the Bruce Wayne part of it, and it's so key to have both. And I thought Michael Keaton always had both, especially the Bruce Wayne, but not, because they didn't like, just because his Bruce Wayne was always kind of like, he kind of had that, you had to have that little craziness to you that Michael Keaton always kind of had, that little like crazy twinkle in his eye kind of thing, and it's just, I always thought he was just so good as.
The other thing that Michael Keaton brought to that role, I think, is in the comics, Bruce Wayne is this very debonair, playboy, wealthy guy. But Michael Keaton brought a level of humanity to him because he's kind of bumbling. He's kind of not aware of his own wealth, which that kind of stuff kind of is in the comics. But he brought it to the forefront where Bruce Wayne really doesn't realize how. He kind of just doesn't even acknowledge how rich he is. So he brought all that stuff to the surface, and it made him so likable as a character that when he was in the bat suit, you still loved him.
Right.
Where, it just wasn't like, with these other characters, it's like you never really loved them outside of the Batman costume.
Yeah, and so it's like, I think that, I don't know if can you blame Joel Schumacher for that? Probably not, but what you can not that we want to criticize the guy and where we're trying to remember him, but yeah, we just kind of went off sidetracking the thing, but he did I think it was just a stark difference to what Burton brought that I think.
Well, you know, and Tim Burton's always going to bring the darkness to the character. Joel Schumacher probably came from the '60s Batman camp. That's probably the ones he read as a kid, the whole campy Batman, and that's what he brought to it. And that's not the direction I liked, because I thought, you know, when Tim Burton went down the dark road with Batman, that's kind of probably where it should have stayed. Yeah. I don't think anybody wanted to go back to the '60s, but that's what he did, and he brought his vision to it. So what can you say? Yeah,
but in the end though, it's like, you cannot, whatever, like or hate those movies, you have to say that, there's still the immense talent and that Joel Schumacher brought to us movie fans are still has to be appreciated. Yeah. All right, guys. So let's get to our interview with Ghost Girl Greetings before we hit our main feature. I think you guys are going to absolutely love these ladies. They're so talented. They make such wonderful products, and I can't wait for you guys to be introduced if you have not already heard of them already. So let's get right to it, Brian. Our interview with Ghost Girl Greetings. These days, with so many of us using technology, Zoom, FaceTime, etc., sometimes it's still cool to receive a nice greeting card or surprise gift in the mail. So if you're looking to find that special gift for your favorite horror fan, or you simply want to add a little ghoul to your Yule come this holiday season, I think these amazing ladies have exactly what you need. We have with us Tony and Lori, who make up the fantastic horror and pop culture themed Ghost Girl Greetings. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you. Hi.
Hey, so guys, we are, of course, wanting to make sure you're staying safe during quarantine. So what have you guys been up to while sheltering in place?
Making a lot of new stuff, I would say.
Yay! That's what I wanted to hear.
Out a lot of ideas. We have a lot of ideas. A lot of time to think about everything we want to do.
That is great. Yeah, because we always, as you know, on social media, we met you both at the New Jersey Horror Con, and so we've always followed you ever since, and we're always trying to share your new products, because I feel like you just have not stopped. Actually, it seems like you have more than ever, which is awesome, because your stuff is amazing.
Thank you.
So I guess just in case there are some listeners that are pretty much either new to our show or social media, or haven't discovered all your stuff yet, why don't you let everyone know what Ghost Girl Greetings are all about?
You want me to go, Tony?
Flip a coin.
You could take turns.
Basically, we started out with greeting cards, and it kind of just spawned from there. We took our love of horror and pop culture, and from the greeting cards came prints, came mugs, came stickers, buttons, bookmarks. We have a lot of new stuff going on, from the simple little card.
So how did you guys come up? How did you originally get started with doing horror greeting cards?
So actually, the first card that we wanted to do was not a horror card, but it kind of evolved because we are both huge horror fans. So it was natural that we gravitated towards doing cards that were themed off of our favorite movies. But our little partnership here started over a pizza and a birthday cupcake at a stranger.
We crashed our first birthday party at a pizzeria.
Yeah. It was around Christmas time, and Lori and I have been friends for a long time, and so Lori has been making art since forever, and since I've known her. And I was asking her about if she knew anybody who made Die Hard Christmas cards, because Die Hard is my favorite Christmas movie. And so we started a conversation just about cards and like what we want to give to our friends. And then the next thing we knew after, pigging out on pizza was we were like, we're going to make a card.
Yeah, we were like, why don't we just make them? Yeah, and that was it.
And so it was kind of like just a beautiful marriage of ideas, because Lori is so talented with her art and I am just a really silly person. So marrying those
with an incredible knowledge of every movie. I don't know how she remembers so many. There's movies that I've seen so many times, and she'll whip out like a line from it that is so obscure, and and I'm like, what? I don't know how she has the memory she does. It's crazy.
It's always been something that I've done since I was a little kid, so it's just that part of that is natural to me. So it's really fun to actually kind of collaborate those ideas and turn them into things that people can give to each other to make themselves smile.
So first, I want to say we love the fact that you consider Die Hard a Christmas movie, because we are definitely in that camp as well. And we can also definitely relate about the constant movie lines, because Tim and I actually spent pretty much the whole ride home from the New Jersey Horror Con quoting Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So, so we can relate 100%. But so speaking of that, though, I guess tell our listeners too, how do you come up with such the amazing ideas for the cards and prints, and where does the artwork come from? And if you can kind of give us a little behind the scenes, behind the curtains view of how it comes from idea to final product.
Well, luckily, we both share the love for pretty much every movie that I love, she loves, and vice versa. And we'll think about, sometimes it will just come to Tony. She'll just be like, I have an idea, and she'll say it, and I'll crack up, and we know it's the winner. And it's usually like, what movie do we want to do, or TV show do we want to hit? And sometimes we're more focused that way, or sometimes it just totally happens on a whim.
Yeah, I would say that sometimes you just wake up in the morning and you just, I don't know, you see something that sparks. You know how sometimes a movie or a TV show ruins something for you? So I always use the example of Psych, the TV show, is my favorite TV show, and it ruined pineapples for me, but in a good way. Every time I see a pineapple, I think of Psych. So it's kind of like that, where you would, see something that kind of sparks an idea, and then I'm texting Lori at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, you're still sleeping right now, but I have this idea. And I know
I'm writing it down so I don't forget.
And I know if she laughs, or she, sometimes maybe I have the start of an idea, and then when we talk, it instantly, it actually, I can't tell you with what, because it's something we're working on, but it just happened an hour before we were talking to you today. We were on the phone, and it was just one of those
organic. Go down like a rabbit hole. She'll be like, let's do something like this, and we're like, what if it's this? And it just,
and that's it,
forms that way.
So do you sketch it up and then kind of go back and forth with the final design?
We'll talk about what image we want to accompany the line that we have, and I'll sketch something. And the good thing is that Tony knows me so well that I'll sketch something and I'll send it to her because we want to be on the same page. And she's like, that's exactly how I knew you were going to do it. And it's no revisions necessary. It just works.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever come back to Lori and be like, I think it should be this way. It's just, she knows. It's
if
green is magically transferred to her fingertips when she's
And sometimes I'll hit depending on the person, some likenesses come really easy for me, and sometimes I struggle a little bit. So with the Back to the Future card, I felt like I couldn't get his likeness, and I would send it to Tony, and I'm like, tell me, I'm looking at it, I need another pair of eyes, tell me what you think. And she'll be like, maybe move the eye or whatever it is, and it just then happens. Or she'll say, no, that's perfect, and I'm just too in it to see it, so yeah, it works out that way.
Must be hard. You guys seem to never get along. I don't know how you ever come up with Yeah, no, so, I was going to say one more thing too is I guess, I don't know if this is, who came up with the mascot? I guess you guys have a mascot named Booverly.
Oh, yeah. I was doodling ghosts. Obviously, ghost is in our title. We love spooky stuff. Ghosts represent, and I was doodling a ghost, and it wasn't even meant to be the mascot. And I sent it to her, and she loved it. And Booverly just came out of her mouth, and that was it. Now she's our girl.
That's awesome. It's good to have great. A mascot, I think.
Yeah.
Our mascot attempts for the podcast, they start off really strong and then just kind of fizzle away. We had one, I forgot, I don't even remember the first one we had, but then we became, with Tim had that skeleton that we decided to call Parker Decomposey. But that was our
yeah, she's in the attic right now.
Yeah, Tim moved, good. So she's in kind of a holding pattern.
That's so funny. I love that.
So do you guys have any ideas that you either absolutely loved or even absolutely hated that for whatever reason you just never brought to market, or you never were able to make into a product?
I would say, I don't think there's anything we ever hated. Everything we ever came up with has come to fruition. We may have had an epiphany on changing the line of something, which has happened once. We made a card and we liked the saying, but again, we were talking and Tony was just said a saying and we're like, oh my God, that one's it. So it still happened. It just changed.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we have our favorites of what we've done.
And to say that we have like a laundry list filled with ideas is probably the understatement of the century, because there's only so many hours in a day, and Lori puts so much care into the art, that it's, we can't, sometimes we obviously wish we could do every idea, but sometimes we have to kind of, focus in and say, well, people maybe want to buy Christmas cards in December. So, otherwise, but I think this year, spending a lot more time at home with the canceled shows has given us a little bit more freedom to kind of explore more creative avenues, I would say.
Yeah, it's funny you said that with your ideas. With the way you both come up with stuff, though, that I see all these new products, I assume you have like this drawer filled, like in that movie Bruce Almighty, where Jim Carrey opens up the thing and they all fly out. That's what I picture. Like that's in like the Ghost Girl greetings, like I guess like the Temple of Ideas or something.
Yeah, I would say that's probably accurate. I have like charts and graphs. That's always my joke. I have charts and graphs with all, top secret Ghost Girl stuff that, we want to work on or are working on. So.
Right. And we'll try to figure out, we try to hone in on that, on like what might be obviously a holiday that would be coming up that we would focus on, or if there was like an anniversary of a movie or something, like try to help us weed through all of our ideas. Okay, this is the one we're going to do. Or just sometimes we just feel really strongly about one and we're just like, we're doing this now. So
I'm sure you get to ask this a lot, but we're still going to ask you. What are your favorite products that you sell, and what are some of the best sellers? I know it's like probably choosing like a favorite child, right?
Well,
it's like,
I mean, I want to say that the cards are still my favorite just because it's the start of us. Everything that we do, it all comes from the first card. So the print, the button, the magnets, all these other accessories we've been making, it's always the card first. And I'm a big card giver, so is Tony, and we love getting cards. So I still have my heart in the cards, but we make bookmarks now, and I really love them. I've been reading a lot of physical books now. So, I really like the bookmarks. That's my new favorite.
Yeah, I saw some there. I wanted to order. Tim, did you get to look at those yet? They're really cool.
I haven't, but I'm going to look for them.
There's only
right after this interview.
Because we pretty much like hand make everything ourselves. I physically like print the bookmark, cut the bookmark, laminate the bookmark, put the ribbon on the bookmark. It takes a long time to do. So we always have like ideas, but it's just like, we gotta like, the process of making everything, but the bookmarks are fun.
Wow, that is impressive. I thought I know you had done, you create all that. I assumed at that point you actually would hand it off, but that's pretty impressive that you do that all by hand. So see, everyone out there, they do it all by hand. Yeah,
I print the cards. I physically put together the buttons and the magnets. Yep, I have all my machinery here.
Everything, awesome. With the exception of some stickers.
Right.
And that we get, we'll have made just because we don't have the proper equipment yet. Everything we have is handmade, every single thing. So there's a lot of labor of love. But
I was going to say that.
You feel so much more passionate about a product that you create from start to finish, that when you're putting it in someone's hands, or they're going to hang it in their home or give it to a friend, that it's something that you could really take a lot of pride in.
Mm-hmm.
That's
definitely
awesome.
So do you guys do any custom requests or commissions?
Um,
We have, and it's something that we always talk about, we'd like to do, but right now there's not enough time with, everything that's going on in our personal lives, plus all the stuff we want to do for Ghost Girls. But it's not completely shut off the table. But we have someone, like a really nice person that we had met through him becoming a fan of ours. We wound up doing a Doctor Who commission for him, and it came out really good. I was really happy with it.
We got to stay on their good side, Tim.
Yeah.
It was his 20th, I think it was his 20th wedding anniversary.
Yeah,
right?
and Doctor Who was really important to him and his wife, so we were like, yeah, let's do it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But we now have personalization on cards.
That's true.
Oh.
So it's not, the card is still what the card is, but if you didn't want to have the card sent to you and you write it out and send it, we could cut that out and Tony will handwrite the card for you.
Oh, wow. That's impressive. Like, because most, like, I remember, I think you had mentioned that to me. I think we were talking back and forth one of the, on Twitter once about that. I literally just thought you just typed it into the design and sent it out, but that is awesome that you actually handwrite it.
Yeah,
That
no,
is great.
we love the personal touch on stuff like that, and so I had a lot of people messaging to ask, if we could write out the card. And at first I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about writing it, just because what if my handwriting isn't good enough, or, whatever, if I make a mistake or, something. And then we kind of talked it over and we were like, you know what, it's a really nice thing. And especially right now, with the pandemic, I feel like the more you can kind of cut out the amount of hands touching something, and the time that it takes to mail something when the pandemic first started was so long.
Yeah.
And so, we kind of decided to do this together, and people have just loved it. They really have responded well to it. And it's kind of sweet seeing what people want to write in the cards too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's got to add like a little bonus to you, because usually you do this, you can only kind of assume what maybe these cards are, but then when you actually get to see the literally everything about this card, that's got to give you a little extra.
Yeah.
Like,
Really, it's really nice feeling. Yeah, I do enjoy that part. And I have to say too, we've been so lucky in that people who enjoy our cards really have enjoyed our cards, that we have been, I can't even tell you how many. I know it's somewhere over 200, maybe close to 300 at this point, beautiful reviews on where we started on Etsy. And now we have a website, but we still have an Etsy. People write us the most beautiful reviews all the time. They send pictures or, take creative photos with the cards and tell us how much their family members or friends loved it. And that to us, that's exactly what we wanted to get out of this, this partnership in the first place. So it's, that to me is the icing on the Father's Day cake,
That's awesome. Yeah. And, I think was great, I think, about that whole thing too, that you did, is that, with this pandemic, it made a lot of businesses have to make quick adjustments. And the fact that you were able to do something that actually turned out to be a positive of it is awesome, because you're right. Because I remember I went to, I think it was, I'm in New York and Long Island specifically, Amityville. I think I had mentioned that.
Oh, nice.
And so, and that was not intentional, by the way, for the horror podcast. That was just a happy.
That's so funny.
Sure, Brian. Sure.
But I remember I had to go mail something, and it was about a month or so in, and I just remember it was like the anxiety I had all day, knowing I was going to have to go into, and there was no one really online. Everyone kind of waited outside, and they only let one person in at a time. So it was like, I didn't feel like that I was extra exposed, but when you went in there and you just saw like the tarp in front of everybody, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is surreal. I'm like, it does drain on you amongst all the other things that we're worried about. So what you did, I think that is just a great idea to come up with. You taking a really, a possible uncomfortable or fearful situation for your customer and be able to still deliver the best way possible.
Thank you.
See, and this whole situation kind of gives you a newfound appreciation. You just said the tarp made me think of the movie Quarantine or Wreck. I'm like, you now, especially like as horror fans, you just get like such a newfound appreciation for some of these scary situations that you watch on TV. It's definitely a time that's changed everything, I would say.
Oh my God. Yeah, it really does. And actually I noticed, little off topic, I notice any movie now I watch now where I see people like really close together, I'm like, oh, I'm like, wait a minute.
It's funny, right?
Yeah, I'm like that.
Your hands for 20 seconds.
Yeah. I'm like that Joaquin Phoenix meme, for like where he points to signs and gets scared. That's totally.
And I made the mistake of watching, what was the movie? Contagion. Recently.
Oh gosh.
I'd never seen it, and I was like, wait, this is what's happening like right now. Like, what the heck am I watching? Oh boy.
And all four of us didn't really have a shot to avoid a lot because our business is kind of horror. So what were we supposed to do? How are we avoiding it,
Yeah.
Like Tim and I were going to switch to a comedy like all comedy movie podcast. So. So like any business, obviously, promotion and getting your name out there is key. So how I know right now you can't do the conventions, but was that your main way to kind of let everyone know about you early on, right from the beginning, or was it the Etsy thing?
Conventions definitely help get the word out for sure. But since we don't have them at this moment, Tony's been busting her little butt trying to market the crap out of us. No, she's on social media a lot. We try to come up with creative ways to show the cards and get people's interest. And so we're trying to focus more on that social media because we're so personable. So like when we go to these conventions, like we'll chat up everybody, make so many new friends and stuff. So without that, we're just like focusing that personability. That's not a word. Into. Yeah.
And I think too, it's like, especially right now, when we go to conventions, it's kind of a natural thing that we're so excited about other people's products too, that it's just so easy to, make friends like in the horror market and small businesses, I feel like in the horror circuit tend to support one another, because they're genuinely excited about the product.
Oh yeah.
And so, but the cool thing is we're lucky that things like Instagram exist because, we can look at people who, are selling similar themed items or, people that we may have come across at a show and find new artists based on that as well and make new friends. I mean, honestly, even in the past few weeks, we've found a bunch of new shops mutually, that we really enjoy viewing their products too. And so it's kind of a natural thing. But I would say actually we started out first on Instagram. That was our first place that we ever posted. And then doing the conventions helped. And I would say really where we started to get any, recognition as a actual company was when we did the collaboration with Dana DiLorenzo, First Evil Dead, because she was just the most incredible person ever. And wanted to work with us on this series of cards, which we did, and it was a total blast. But then one morning we wake up to this beautiful surprise that she did an interview on AfterBuzz TV. They would do the Ash vs. Evil Dead after show, and she was on it, and she was over here just talking about our cards, and I know it
was surreal. She was like gushing about our cards, and we were like, what?
Honestly,
awesome.
like we owe an unpayable debt to her because not only did she kind of help us get a little bit off the ground, but we met so many amazing people through her, so many like-minded fans that it was just really really great thing for our business and also as people, because we're just really at the end of the day we're just really big horror nerds, so
and she's awesome. She's just unbelievably awesome. I miss her.
She's amazing.
Well, I mean, I think that helped. Obviously the social media presence is used in that. But the con thing, I know for us, that was when we met. We were lucky enough to meet you, and we instantly you were one of our favorite tables that we met because we were like there. But it wasn't just your products were amazing. It was you sold yourself so well that you are so personable and so easy and fun to talk to, and you could tell like that convention is will show up by horror and pop culture fans. And, the fact that you were right there, the same passion for it, it just becomes like, it doesn't matter which side of the booth you're on. It just basically ends up being people talking about what they love. So I think that's a key.
Well, Lori and I became friends because of horror movies. I worked at Hot Topic, and Lori came into the mall that I was working in.
Yes, it was so, we wound up being everywhere, like midnight movies, I'd see her. The mall, I'd see her. I would see her and I'm like, why are we not friends? And we just... Right.
And I know the same thing for me personally, and Lori, I think you could say the same thing. I mean, so many of the friends that I've made over the years, I've made at conventions, and I've been going to conventions a lot longer than we've been vending them.
Oh, yeah, same.
There's most of my friends, that I've met, been lucky enough to meet all over the place, have been from horror conventions.
Yeah.
Everybody... It's kind of like when everybody gets there, it's like the stress kind of rolls off the shoulders, and everybody can just be themselves and laugh and smile and really enjoy, that kind of immersive experience. So,
and can you imagine the first convention that everyone really gets to go back to? It's going to be like this.
Oh, it's going to be such a party.
I'm going to hug everybody.
I know.
It's going to be amazing.
I can't wait. It'll be like a high school reunion or something, like all these people you haven't seen in a while.
Well, I really hope I know New Jersey HorrorCon is still slated for October, I guess. I'm hoping that one still took place. I saw Monster Mania, I guess, earlier today got pushed.
Yeah, we knew it makes sense.
Yeah, you can't.
There's so many regulations. It's just not possible with a show like that.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it's great to kind of have these things, but if you can't have it at the level you're used to having it.
Right.
Is it worth going and spending the money? Because, it's like, you're right. You want to hug friends you haven't seen in a while. You want to be able to just all sit in a close, tight-knit group and chat. And, if you're not going to be able to do that.
Exactly. Think about how many amazing experiences you've had meeting guests at a convention where somebody will surprise you and get up and hug you, or hold your hand while they're talking to you and be really engaging in the conversation. And it's like, you really miss out on that, that part of the experience. So I'd rather wait and for it to come back better than ever. Obviously we miss it and we miss everyone, but it'll be better than ever, I'm sure, when it comes back.
Oh yeah. And I think there'll be like a whole new appreciation. Not that I know the four of us have the appreciation already, but just the level will be off the charts, I think, when we get back there.
I agree.
So, and we're coming to you both first. We're going to make sure we beeline to your table.
We will make it.
Yes.
So before we get to our last question, guys, I just wanted to again reiterate to our listeners how freaking awesome these cards are. The one thing I love about them is that not only the artwork is fantastic, but they're always just unexpected. I mean, the lines and stuff that they use are so clever, and they're always not. And I always know what's going to be on the inside, and I'm always wrong, but it's always perfect. It's always better than what I would imagine. So that's what I love about these cards.
We love when we see people open the cards and we don't know what it is. We want to know. We're dying to know, which one are you laughing at? Because we're so excited and we still laugh. I can open the Silence of the Lambs card every single day and laugh every single time. Like, it's just there's so many. That's really sweet compliment, because
that's a beautiful combination of both of what we bring to the table.
Exactly.
So that's the best thing you've ever said. So.
Yes. They're amazing. So guys, definitely check them out. I've literally not seen one card that I didn't absolutely love. I just want to buy them all. Yeah. I can't afford to buy them all, but I want to buy them all. But they're fantastic.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, if you are a pop culture or horror fan, I almost can guarantee you will see their stuff and you will think they're like pulled it out of your brain, because it's something like, I've always wanted this card, but no one's ever made it. I must have said that at least 15 times going through.
All right, so guys, tell our listeners where they can see these wonderful products.
So you can find our full selection of greeting cards, prints, and more on our website, ghostgirlgreetings.com. We're also on Etsy, same thing, and you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're everywhere.
Awesome. And I can say, because I know we interact with you both a lot on social media, and you are great in terms of the appreciation you show back and forth. And you're not going to just like reach out to them and they're not going to say anything. They are always very interactive, and they are just as friendly as they are online as they are in person. And we can attest that they are just two amazing ladies, and they are so much fun to talk to. So when we are back at the cons, make sure you look their table up and make sure it's one of your first stops, because you will not be disappointed in the slightest.
And we will talk and talk and talk for a very long time because we love to talk.
I can relate because I'm from New York, and I don't ever stop talking.
I'm from New York too.
There you go. See?
Same.
We call it the Italian goodbye syndrome, where you say goodbye, but then it's 2 hours.
You linger.
Yeah, no, and it's funny too. You say that because, like, I know, especially when it goes to my mom, it's like I literally have to start the call ending about a half hour before I need to.
Oh, sure.
Because just to make sure I'm done in time, and even then I have to put a 5-minute buffer in. But no,
It's very funny.
But yeah, thank you both for coming back on. When I say coming back on, that was because we had shared that unfortunately we had an amazing interview with you both, and due to a technical difficulty, it never saw the light of day. So we are so gracious you came back on and spent some time with us, because we did not want to not have this you guys back on the show, because we're big fans, and we want to make sure that all our listeners are aware of all your amazing stuff.
Oh, thank you. I was really excited to come back. So
sorry it took so long.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine.
It's completely okay. Everybody's kind of in their own groove of things right now, so it's totally okay.
So anyway, so before we know it though, look, I mean, right, this thing, by the time we're all ready to go back out again, it'll be time to be sending those holiday gifts. So so definitely don't forget to look up Ghost Girl Greetings. You will not be disappointed. And so thank you again for coming on.
Thank you so much.
All right, that was just so much fun, Brian. I'm just continuously amazed at the quality of interviews we've had. This amazing run of interviews we've had on the show these past few weeks. Yeah,
and it's the variety of them. It's like we've had actors, we've had directors, we've had YouTubers, Twitchers. I mean, just I don't know. Is that the right term? Twitchers? I don't know. But what I loved is it's like all different aspects. We always try and put all our stuff forward, and so since we are just huge fans of, I hate to say it's like a selfish thing, but we thought when we met them we met Tony and Lori at the HorrorCon, we just automatically thought that we just had this like connection with them, and they were so cool to talk to. And we have their prize. So we already knew we wanted to get them on. And so that's why it was such a shame and such a tragedy when we lost that first interview. So I'm so glad we were able to get them back on so we could recreate it and just get to talk to them again, because they're so fun. And we really mean this when we're just not like selling their stuff because they happen to be on. We are huge fans of their stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I go over that in the I obviously went over that in the interview as well as big a fan as I am of them. So I will definitely be getting some Halloween and or Christmas cards this year.
Yes,
from these guys for sure.
And when you get your Civil Gore library set up in your new place, you need to get some bookmarks.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Well, let's get to our featured film. We decided to go in honor of Ghost Girl Greetings. I wanted to do a ghost movie, and originally I was looking for one with actual ghost girl in it. But we've done a lot of the ones that I had kind of had on my radar, and then I kind of ran across Crimson Peak, which I had not revisited in a while. And I thought, that one might be fun because it's got all the trappings of a great ghost movie. It's just so gothic and so it's really an old-fashioned ghost story that you don't see these days unless you have somebody like Guillermo del Toro, who is a fan of stuff like that and has the power and clout and money to put it forth on the screen. So and Brian acknowledged that he would like to do this one as well. It was on HBO Max, so it's a perfect fit. So Crimson Peak came out in 2015, again directed by Guillermo del Toro, starring.
Starting you off on the bang with the names.
Oh my god, I was dreading this all day long, having to pronounce her name. Mia Wasikowska.
I've always said Wasikowska.
Wasikowska.
But I always think of I look her name and instantly I think Mike Wachowski from Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
But it's definitely Mia. I think it's definitely Mia Wasikowska.
Mia W. Okay, so she plays Edith Cushing, a not so subtle nod to Peter Cushing. There, I believe. Jessica Chastain as Lucille Sharp, Tom Hiddleston as Thomas Sharp, Charlie Hunnam as Dr. Alan McMichael, Jim Beaver as Carter Cushing, Bern Gorman as Holly, Leslie Hope as Mrs. McMichael, Doug Jones as Edith's mother and Lady Sharp, and Jonathan Hyde as Ogilvy.
Ogilvy.
I tried to pronounce that like Olivia's name. I was trying to do Olivia.
I know. I was cracking up. I was like, you made it so far, Tim. You're almost there. Just say Ogilvy.
All right, so synopsis. In the aftermath of a family tragedy, an aspiring author is torn between love for her childhood friend and the temptation of a mysterious outsider. Trying to escape the ghost of her past, she is swept away to a house that breathes, bleeds, and remembers. So, Brian, I remember when I first saw the poster of this in the theater, and I was completely enraptured by this poster because it uses this weird red-blue color scheme.
Yes.
In all the marketing materials and all the promotional materials, and it reminds you of 3D glasses is exactly what it reminds you of. And it was just so striking, especially for a horror movie. You know, you don't see that burst of color typically associated with horror films, and I knew I wanted to go see this so bad. And I didn't. I never went and saw it in the theater, and as I was watching it today, I was really kicking myself that I never saw this on the big screen, because I think it's a movie that probably works better on the big screen.
Yeah, because there's a lot of amazing visuals in this, especially, and there's a lot of like set pieces that you see look like I would probably really benefit from having one of those giant screens like that. Because I mean, yeah, it looks great. I mean, I will say though, the version, the Blu-ray version of it that because I actually watched it on disc. Joe Bob inspired me on his last one because when he went on that whole rant at his finale about the physical media. So I decided to go old school there and watch it on the highest disc possible. No, I didn't watch 4K.
Now,
but regular Blu-ray.
Do you have that crazy collector's Blu-ray, or do you have the regular one?
I think it's just the regular one I have. It's the blue. It's just the movie, the digital copy, and the DVD. It's like the 3 version one.
Yeah, I don't know if the collector's one is even available anymore. I almost ordered that one because it came out a while back, and it was just this amazing. Like the amount of extras on that thing was ridiculous. And now I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't go ahead and order it because I don't see it on Amazon right now.
The version that I have is the one that's on Amazon. Is just that regular? But I mean, there's features on it.
Yeah, this one was an Arrow. I believe it was like an Arrow limited edition. I don't think you can get it anymore. But it was astounding.
Another one that gets out of your grasp.
Yeah. There's also, I was just looking through here. There's a hardcover Art of Crimson Peak hardcover book. It's like $75 now because I'm sure it's out of print. Oh my god! So, oh man, wow. But so it was not until a long time later before I got to see this movie. I did not see it in the theater. I didn't see it until it came out on Blu-ray or DVD or whatever I was watching at the time. Probably Blu-ray at the time. And
I have some good news for you, Tim. You could still get this on Arrow.
Oh, really?
$34.99 looks and it looks like it might be in stock too. So I think you have a second chance.
$35's not bad. I think that's what it retailed for originally.
The version I have is $24 on Amazon, so it's for an extra $10 you get this version. I may upgrade to it actually. Oh my God, you're right. There was like 100 different special features on this thing.
Yeah, it's insane the amount of features on it. It's really, really cool.
The box art is incredible for this.
Yeah. So that'll be something I gotta look at upgrading to. But so when I'll be quite honest with you, I was really hyped for this movie, especially being a Guillermo del Toro fan. The first time I watched it, I don't think I really cared for it. I liked it okay, but it didn't meet my hype level. And I kind of just dismissed it and didn't think much more about it. I remember when Coaster Radio did the Real Design Contest, of course, Tom...
Yes. That's what I always remember. I linked to this movie.
Yeah, I always link it to this movie because me and Tom, basically... Tom came second place in the Real Design Contest. And the Real Design Contest, if you guys don't remember from me talking about the Creature from the Black Lagoon, was Coaster Radio did a contest where you had to create a ride design based on a movie. And I did Creature from the Black Lagoon. Tom did Crimson Peak, and he had this incredible drop tower idea for Crimson Peak where the drop tower would actually go underground and there would be scenes from the movie kind of playing out as you dropped through the ride. It was an amazing idea.
Yeah.
He ended up only losing by one vote, I think. I think it came down like one judge tie broke the contest. So it was a really amazing idea. And I think his ride design actually made me like the movie more.
That's funny.
And
he was your competitor.
Yeah. Oh, Tom's the nicest guy in the world.
Yes.
And,
oh my God, totally.
Besides you, Brian, of course.
Well, I don't know. I still need to live up a little bit to Tom's
but
level.
I think and then it was after that I went back and revisited this movie again, and I actually started to like it more and more. And again, watching it again today, I found that I really enjoyed it on a level I've never enjoyed it before. But it did make me long to see it on the big screen. But it has all the hallmarks of a Guillermo del Toro movie. It's got the bright burst of color, like he did in Shape of Water, which is one of my favorites.
Oh my God,
I
I
love The
that
Shape
movie.
of Water. I absolutely love it.
You know, do you think that's a movie we should do? It's horror enough, right?
I would love to do it only because I love that film so much. And if there's anybody out there that's our listeners who hasn't seen it, or maybe they saw it and didn't really, thought it was okay, I would love to be able to convince them that it's as awesome as I think it is.
I think we should put that on there on the short list to do, because I think you could argue it's not true horror. I think it's close enough. I think that and even so, we can stretch a little bit and make that
one
fit.
would be possibly a good one to do for like Valentine's Day next year.
Oh yeah,
because it's a love story. That one might be something to do. So
at some level, in all honesty, I've seen a lot of people refer to this, and they even kind of say it in the opening of this movie that it's not a ghost story; it's a story with ghosts in it. So
yeah.
One can argue that this is, kind of a romantic tragedy with ghosts.
And let's face it, Del Toro's films have always been somewhat horror adjacent, even when they're considered horror.
Right.
All of his movies have this fantasy element that kind of overrides the horror. So, I would love to do Shape of Water. I listen to that soundtrack probably 2 to 3 times a month. I absolutely love the score to that movie. But this one reminded me, when I was watching this, it reminded me a lot of that movie because that film has a lot of green in the palette.
Yes. Oh my God! But it's that really glowy green, I guess. I don't know if it's quite neon is the right word, but it's glow. It glows. It explodes off the screen. I just love that movie. There's something very mesmerizing throughout of that movie. Like the whole, we're already doing that episode apparently. Yeah. So guys, just buckle up. You're getting a twofer tonight. No, but it's funny that you said that there's almost like this mesmerizing quality about Shape of Water. That kind of just like the whole time you almost feel like you're almost in like a dream state throughout.
Yeah,
and
I'm
I
sure
think
that
that's
was intentional.
Oh yeah, I think that is its true strength because, because if you think about it, it is very one of those fantasy oriented films, and so I think that the fact that they put you in and you feel like that the whole time is good, because you could easily those movies, when you do that, there's always that area where it could just tip over to the wrong side and becomes cheesy. This never did. This worked the line perfectly what it needed to be. And plus, look at the cast of that. It had, Sally Hawkins, which we mentioned how much we like, Octavia Spencer, Michael Shannon, Richard Jenkins, who has always been a favorite actor of mine. There was just it's one of those movies that I'm actually don't know why it doesn't get even more than it does, and it gets a lot.
Well, it did win
a
an
lot of
Oscar.
people.
I mean,
But I'm saying like well, yeah, but what I'm saying is like
what
there's
more do you
people-
want, Brian?
I want 100% total recognition by every person on the planet. I want you to be able to walk down the street to a person you never met before, just look at them and both go point at each other and go, Shape of Water. That's what I want. Is it too much to ask?
We'll definitely plan that episode then. But yeah, Crimson Peak is same striking color palette. Of course, the Crimson Peak is a reference to the estate that they end up living in, and there's this red clay, which is they mine to make brick out of, like this brilliant crimson brick clay, and it stains the snow, so everything looks like blood. It's a neat concept. I mean, this whole movie is pure gothic, over the top ghost story. You got the big crumbling mansion. You got the long flowing dresses. You have now. I will say one thing. And I'm not going into the whole plot line of this, guys. You know, if you want to watch it, go watch it. We could go step by step through the plot line, but I'd rather talk about the visuals and stuff of the movie, because I think that's the more striking aspect of it. I loved the ghost portrayals in this movie. You know me, Brian. I'm always very hard on ghost movies because either they show them too much and they look like just kids in bad face paint and they're not scary because they show them too much, or they use a lot of CGI, and these ghosts are definitely CGI.
Yeah.
And I was watching it today going, and I knew the ghosts were CGI, but I was thinking, am I gonna hate these ghosts? Like, I remember seeing this movie, a couple of times before, but am I gonna be able to get past the CGI ghost? And the answer is yes, and I think I know why. I finally figured it out. It's because these ghosts are portrayed more as monsters than ghosts. Would you agree? Like, that ghost is a monstrous portrayal of a ghost.
Well, Guillermo del Toro, I mean, that's his strength. I mean, he's like, some of those creatures that he has, all those things that he has in his movies are always this gangly, horrific thing. And so it's like, it's not just like a gray child, like where it like just sits there and doesn't move. Now, not saying that doesn't work in the right setting, but in this setting, I think you needed to up the game, and he did. Yeah,
and like you said, he's a monster guy. He's always said he's a monster guy. He loves monsters, and I just loved this portrayal because you don't typically see ghosts portrayed as deformed skeletal wraiths type creature. I mean, these ghosts look more like they'd come out of like a fantasy film.
Yeah.
Which, again, no surprise. Del Toro's loves fantasy. I mean, all his films have a fantastic element, but they look like something that might come out of like Game of Thrones or something. They're that horrific and skeletal, and I love the design of them. Even though they're CGI, obviously CGI, there was no other way to do them. And so you kind of have to forgive that aspect of it. And I just love the aesthetic of them.
But I think, didn't Doug Jones do some of the modeling of it? Like the
yes.
Right? So he did that. So, I mean, that's why I think maybe, too, even though they are CGI, they're effective in a better way than if it was just a straight CGI.
Yeah, and Doug Jones is a genius in my book. He doesn't get the recognition he deserves because he plays these monsters he's in Pan's Labyrinth, of course.
Yeah.
He plays these creatures on screen that you never know that he's under there. He was on Star Trek. What's the new Star Trek? Discovery.
Yeah.
He's one of the aliens on there. He was the Mac at Night Moon guy. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, when we met him at PopCon, we went over to his table. And I'm sitting there looking at his pictures that that you can get autographed, and I'm just going, "What the hell?" Like, I had no idea this guy was all these things because he's always under tons of makeup, and there was a Mac at Night publicity still in there, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me that you're the Mac at Night guy?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I was the Mac at Night guy," and I just it was just so funny to me. That was one of his early roles.
When you guys went, did you go, "Hey popcorn, hey popcorn"? No, sorry.
Yeah, Al Pacino was in the corner doing it, but he is, and I've probably told this a million times on the show. He is the nicest guy celebrity, one of the nicest celebrities I've ever met at a convention.
He seems like it. He just seems like he's a good. But think about it though, right? So he's got to be known as much though now to at least our circuit of horror fans and pop culture fans as an Andy Serkis, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But Andy Serkis, yes, he portrayed, as a, did other roles that made him kind of known, but still, obviously everyone knows him for now Snoke or Gollum, and so and didn't he do what he did one of the.
He did Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes, yes,
movies.
Thank you. Yeah, so he's it's so funny. Again, there's probably a million things that people don't realize he's done, but also because he does kind of get into some movies. It always cracks me up when I see him in what was that 30 Going on 30, that he's in there. That just cracks me up seeing him in that because I'm like.
Well, he's finally starting to get from behind the digital stuff and be an actual actor, which is nice. Right. He gets that recognition. But
yeah, because he was great in Black Panther, I thought, as that villain. But yeah, so yeah, no, but Doug Jones, I think that's why. I think that may be why, because he does so many of the modelings and the creature things. He's so good at that gives depth to even a CGI, because if you base it off of something, it always makes it better.
Jessica Chastain, I thought this to me is one of my favorite roles from her. I've always been a big fan ever since I saw her in Zero Dark 30.
Yeah,
because she was amazing in that movie. I don't know, I feel like she was nominated for an Oscar for that.
She's been nominated a couple, I think twice, right, for stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember if she won or. And of course, she was awesome in The Help and everything. But Zero Dark 30 is when I first really noticed her, and then of course she did The Martian. She did Crimson Peak.
I love her in Molly's Game, even though that's not horror or anything related like that. But did you ever see that? The one where she with the poker games.
Yeah, and then obviously she was Beverly in It Chapter 2. But this role in Crimson Peak is one of my favorite roles that she's ever done, because she's so good in this. She plays such an evil, cold-hearted.
The fact that you can make Jessica Chastain unlikable, I don't know. For me, that's hard. Even when she plays a not a savory character, I think. Yeah,
I don't know. She just completely throws herself into this role. It's just really good. I don't really know how to describe it, but she was, when I did this recent rewatch today, she was my favorite part of this whole movie.
Yeah, well, she's anything she's in, I'm going to watch. And in fact, it's funny. I saw her. She was on Instagram today. She posted she was in New York with her mask, taking a picture in front of something, and it was she was in front of the statue that they're going to take down, the Teddy Roosevelt one. And she posed in front. And I'm like, we could have seen Jessica Chastain if we just walked into the city today.
At least half of her from the.
Just half of her, but I think she is. She's made. Oh, so I was. We were both right. So she was she was nominated for Zero Dark 30. She didn't win. But she won for The Help. Is what she won for.
Okay, I knew she. Okay.
Yeah, she was. So she was nominated twice, won once, and what it was she won for The Help, and she just got nominated for Zero Dark 30. But yeah, she is just one of my favorite actresses, and I'll pretty much watch her in anything. So she's done some good stuff like Mama. She was in. And you'll see in the trivia, she actually has some really good method acting trivia in there, so which we'll get to shortly.
Yeah, Mia W, as I'll call her, Mia Wasikowska. I knew her only from the Alice in Wonderland movies, the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland. That's really the only thing I'd really known her for, and she's really good in this. Tom Hiddleston, of course, is good in everything. Oh my God,
he's awesome.
So he was fantastic in this. a solid cast, and it's just over the top, crazy gothic ghost story. What's not to love? I mean, there's actually some decent kind of gory scenes in this.
Oh my god, yeah, with the father when he gets. Oh my god,
Yeah.
that is like, I was like, oh, like I don't cringe very often. Usually when it's not, there are two things I will always cringe at: eyeball things and when fingers break the wrong way. I've always said that, but most of the other stuff I can just say, okay, score. That scene made me cringe. That was like horrifying to me.
Yeah, there's some really good gore scenes in here. And I mean, really, the reason I love this movie primarily is not really the story and not even really the performances, even though Jessica Chastain was incredible in it. It's really just Del Toro's directing and the cinematography. It's just a beautiful film to look at, and I love that he just went all in on a gothic ghost story, which it's incredibly old-fashioned, and it's a period piece, don't get me wrong, but still they don't make these type of ghost stories these days. It's a throwback to a completely other time in history when they made this type of movie. So I just thought that was fun. That's the whole reason I like that Wolfman remake.
Yeah,
I thought it was fantastic. I'll defend the Wolfman remake.
No, and you know what? I have to say, Tim, you and I are not the only ones. I thought we might have been one of the few that liked that movie, but actually I saw on Twitter maybe it was a month or so ago, other people were talking about it, and I think I jumped in and said something, because it was I think people were someone saying, like, you know, I don't know why people have a problem with this movie. It was really good, someone said, and I was like, and I saw a lot of people defending it, saying, I've always loved it. I like that. So yeah, so it's funny. Like we're not the only ones, Tim. There were others that like that
I'm
one.
glad. I mean, and it makes sense if you look at the things I love. I love Universal horror monster movies. Yep. I love these old Italian giallo films with the crazy Technicolor blood. I mean, there's no reason I wouldn't like this movie. Yeah, it's got all that mixed together.
What, you know what? There's something weird. I know this is gonna sound odd, but you know, coming from me and probably all the odd things I've said in person to you and just in the length of this podcast probably won't be that odd. But one of the things I like about those period piece movies is something about just the simpleness of the lack of technology, because I think we're just overdone with technology, you know. And I know this is kind of funny saying this because he was developing that big machine, but still, like, you know, like the fact that like they walk, you know, when they're in there and they're talking, and he opens up that like really leather bound thing to open up, like to give the papers to, you know, just like that old school. Something about that to me is like a very comforting, and I don't know why, because I'm super techie, but like when I see a change almost like of that, like you just see like the full regalia that they wear, and they all walk in so sophisticated, and like, you know, like especially when Tom Hiddleston's character just shows up and he like just starts talking to the whole party. It's like, you know, and everyone's focusing on that. When would you see that now? If you were in a room filled with a party people, half the people be either on their phone, and trust me, I'd be probably one of them. Yeah. But like, so it's kind of weird to see, but yet there's something comforting about it, because yes, while you and I were not around at that time when it was like that, we were around a time when people did not have a phone in their hands. So it's kind of like that we were like in that weird middle section. But I think so at some level, but that's what I kind of love. And I love like the movies with horse-drawn carriages or the old kind of cars. Just the simpleness sometimes is.
That's
comforting.
why I love Little House on the Prairie so much. You know?
I thought of you the other day, by the way. This is completely off topic, but Cohn sent me a thing. So I used to watch Little House on the Prairie myself. It used to be on at like 5 o'clock, 5 to 6, all the reruns back in when I was growing up. And I always used to watch them. I usually ended right before I had to go down to dinner, so I used to watch the whole thing. But I don't remember many episodes. However, there's a few that I do remember, and one of them was the one that. So Cohn sent me this thing. It was like 12 of the most, you know, very special episodes of like shows. You know, like when they would do this on a very special episode.
Oh yeah.
So, and in that was a Little House episode, and when I was reading the description, I'm like, oh my god, I totally remember this was one. It was the one where what was the brother that they had in it? Or maybe he wasn't. He might not have been a brother.
But you don't put me on the spot.
Sorry, was it Matthew? Was that his name?
Because I haven't got to that. I'm rewatching the whole series from the beginning, but I haven't gotten that far yet to where he comes in.
But right. But what was he? Was he a stepbrother? Was he a brother? What? How did he come in again?
I think they or if they adopted him.
Right.
Right,
that might have been it. But anyway, yeah. So his character, like I said, I'm not like your brother is probably like wants to throw something at the podcast now, listening to it. It's like, what do you mean you don't know?
It's like you knew.
But anyway, so he ends up There's this girl, I guess, in town that's kind of like it gets. Sadly, I think she gets attacked and raped by like this town prowler that wore that like creepy mask, and. So she becomes pregnant, and she's kind of this outcast because
the town prowler.
I don't know what a better way to describe it. I think I might have quoted that from the article, but he falls for her, and Albert. Yes, thank you. Where did I get Matthew from? Maybe that
because that's who plays him, Matthew Laborto.
Oh, see, I'm not so crazy then. I actually had something going on there. And he falls for her, and then like he decides, even though he's like 14 years old in this, he's going to marry her, and then she has a tragic ending, and I still remember. I'm like, oh my god, I totally remember. That was one of the few episodes I remember so much that I like knew.
Did you ever watch the Halloween episode?
Is that it? Probably.
Where they had the lake monster and.
Yeah.
And they think that Mr. Olsen cut off Mrs. Olsen's head.
Yes. Oh my God. Now that you said that, absolutely. Oh my God, that clinched it. Wait, no. Where are you rewatching it? Because now I kind of want to watch that. Because by the way, if you haven't guessed it, now this is a sneaky segue into our side project, the Little House on the Prairie podcast. No, I'm not kidding.
I actually had these ripped from DVD, so I've got them digitally.
Okay. Do you remember that like wagon box set you could get?
Yeah,
where it was like the full wagon.
Kevin has the whole set of them on DVD, I think. But I feel like they came out on a streaming service recently.
I gotta look that up because
that's how you get from Crimson Peak to Little House.
Yeah, see, you bet you didn't think it could be done, but we've done it.
We find a way.
But yeah, but anyway, yeah. So that that's why you like that. There's something about that cool old like thing. I think that's probably why you and I like those like areas of like we like Dollywood, like with the craftsman work area, and like Frontierland at Disney.
Well, movies are supposed to be an escape, right? And both of us are so techie, and we're always around gadgets, and I work in IT. Yeah, and you're on a computer all day at work. I think it's just a nice escape when you can go to a time where that didn't exist.
Yeah.
So I guess, Brian, we're running a little long. I don't know if we want to go through all this trivia.
There is one I want to make sure I touch on because I teased it earlier.
All right.
If you want me to start with that real quick. Okay. So basically, and now I can't find it, so I'm looking silly. But it basically, long story short, is I remember what it was. It was basically that Jessica Chastain, obviously her playing the piano, and this was such a important sequences into the film. She actually learned how to play piano for this role, and she also learned how to play guitar for her role in Mama. So she really, it's interesting that she literally learned because of her roles in these films. She had learned 2 instruments. So I thought that was pretty
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, guys, go out to IMDb and read the trivia for this movie because there's a lot of really, really good stuff.
So I mean, Tim, if you want to just pick another good one, if you think, and then I guess we'll and then we'll just. Yes, you can find this because we get all this on IMDb pretty much.
Okay, so here's mine. So Guillermo del Toro claims that one of the inspirations for the film was an actual supernatural event that occurred to him. While location scouting for the Hobbit trilogy when he was originally set to direct the films, he and some members of the production stayed the night at a haunted hotel in New Zealand. Del Toro claims that one night after midnight, he could hear the sounds of a murder, including whimpering and screams, coming from a vent leading to an empty bathroom. This event was the basis for a sequence in the film when Edith witnesses a ghost in the bathtub.
Oh, and I have to say, did you? And I know he said one of the trivia pieces about this, like one of the films that inspired him was The Shining. Didn't you get total Shining vibes in that bathroom sequence?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, that was 100% intentional. It seems like he not only had a real life situation that inspired it, but then that shot that he used for it, totally.
And it does say here that he had two of his inspirations, in addition to The Shining, were The Innocents from 1961, which is an amazing ghost movie.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I need to see that.
Yeah, you need to go watch that one. That's a great one. And then The Haunting, of course, from 1963, the original.
I was going to say, at least he picked a good one.
Yeah. So, all right. So, Brian, let's get right to our beer pairing.
Yes. So, it's funny. There was actually a perfect beer pairing for this. And there was a beer made by Firestone Walker, actually called Crimson Peak, in honor of this film that was exclusively sold, I believe, at Alamo Drafthouse. But since that is no longer available, it was a one-timer or limited time thing, I didn't want to give a beer that no one could get. So I found another one just called Crimson by Upland Brewing Company in Bloomington, Indiana. It's a 10% beer, so it's strong, like Tim and I like. And this is a wood-aged sour ale. There's something about the wood-aged sour ale is what really clinched it for me, because I don't know, that just sounds like something from the time, Yeah. Wood-aged, and like it's just like, like it would be sitting there in Tom Hiddleston's basement or something. His character, not him. Anyway, so Crimson, formerly released as Malefactor, is an American take on a Belgian Flanders-style red ale. So red ale, obviously Crimson, this movie, right? Mm-hmm. Perfect link. Upland's twist on this classic brewing style is aging the beer for 8 months in previously used bourbon barrels rather than white oak, which contributes to a slightly higher ABV than most Upland sours, clocking in at 10%.
Wow.
Crimson, yeah, that's big for a sour, actually. Crimson pours a dark copper beer with hues of red and amber. Long fermentation reveals aromas of plum, red wine, and cherry. The bourbon barrels add subtle notes of this charred oak to this medium-bodied sour ale. Crimson's finish is dry with notes of tanginess.
I
think that tanginess is like the Hiddleston factor of it. I don't know.
Well, sours are one beer that I don't have a lot of experience with. I've had some really good sours, but it's probably the least tried of all the beer varieties that I've ever drank.
Yeah, I love sours, but the problem is some of them are just so run of the mill that they're just not that good. I've had a couple ones that have been really good. Julie is not a fan of sours, so it's not like a lot of times, like if we go to brewery tastings or something, we won't. Like, we'll get the sour if it's there, and she'll probably take one sip. But there's a couple there, though, that I remember there was one that I forgot, and it kills me because Julie keeps the list of our favorites on a spreadsheet, and I don't have it. I don't know where that is. But she and there was one there, though, that even she said, wow, this is like an incredible sour. And I think Adam Beard, our buddy Adam Beard, had a good sour once he recommended. It was really good, too. So,
well, I'm drinking one tonight. I wanted to mention that not a sour, but I went to the store the other day to get the Terrapin Maui, which is a fantastic tropical IPA.
Yes.
And it's very budget friendly too, so I love to pick it up when I see it. But they didn't. I was at Walmart of all places, which is not. They have upped their beer game a little bit, but they were out of the Terrapin, so I really was in the mood for a tropical IPA. So I found this New Belgium 1985 IPA, and this is a mango IPA, and I like New Belgium. I mean, they're
they're a really solid, good like brewery to find, like that you can find when you just want something easy to find.
Yeah, because they're mainstream. You can find them in any grocery store.
Yeah.
You can always find New Belgium. You always find Fat Tire. So I was like, I want to try this. It has a cool label because it's got like a 1980s style skeleton on it. And it's got the 80s like pop art stuff in the background. So it's very 1985 looking. It has the same, pink neon colors and greens and stuff. And I have to say it's really, really good. It's not, it's very different from the Terrapin and most other tropical IPAs. The mango lends like a real sweetness to it. So it's almost got almost like a cotton candy overtone to it.
Oh,
it's kind of weird. I don't know if that sounds.
Well, there's a hop. There's a hop that kind of creates that flavor. There's a hop that does a cotton candy kind of note to it. Because I just had a beer with it too, and I can't. It escapes me the name of the hop, but
yeah, I was trying to see if they had it on the can here, if it was showing what kind of hops were in here. It just says mango flavor and spice. I'll have to look that up, see what kind of hops it uses. But yeah, this was a decent one. I was kind of went in blind, which I rarely do. I don't usually typically go in blind on these, and actually kind of like this one.
Yeah, there's some. Actually, it's funny. There's another. I was almost going to do a whole brewery pair because there's a relatively new brewery in my area, about 15 minutes away. We went there for a curbside pickup, and they had a great curbside pickup. And I've had, I think, 5 different beers for them, and so far every one has been great. And it's called Ghost Brewing Company.
No wonder I like this one, Brian. It's Citra, Simcoe, and Cascade hops.
Oh, there you go. Anything with Citra hop in it, I'm going to like. Citra and Mosaic are the two hops that I've never not liked the beer that has those in it. And Cascade is usually good too. I'm wondering if that's the one. I don't think that's the one that causes cotton candy, but maybe they did something with a malt in there or something that kind of did it. Because I know there is something I just had it over the weekend where it mentioned about the cotton candy flavoring and it listed because of the hop. So I don't know. We'll get back to you, or if anyone out there knows.
So let's get right to our triple threat. We gave you a little bit of an easier one this time, guys. So we were looking for an actor or actress, and the answer was Ashley Lawrence, of course, from the Hellraiser series, which is a fitting due to her appearance on Joe Bob the other night. So clue number 1, my first 2 feature films were Living Hell, yet my TV role just before it was Heavenly. So, of course, Ashley played Kirsty Cotton in Hellraiser and Hellbound Hellraiser 2, but ironically played a role in an episode of Highway to Heaven.
Yeah, right before it, which is, how funny is that?
That's great.
She literally went from heaven to hell. But I say she's very heavenly, so she's right there anyway.
Yeah. Clue number 2, at one point I left the franchise I'm known most for, but I returned to it 10 years later. So, of course, after 1992's Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, Ashley left the series but returned in 2002's Hellraiser Hellseeker. Clue number 3, while I will always be linked to an extremely popular horror franchise, of course the Hellraiser series, I did appear in another smaller horror franchise. She appeared in Warlock 3, The End of Innocence, the Warlock series. I've never watched any of those, actually. Maybe the first one.
Yeah, I think I've seen just the first one, too. I mean, for some reason I feel like there's way more, but there's only 3. I don't know.
I think because I get them confused. Wishmaster is the one that has
That's right. You know what? I think that is
Yeah.
exactly what I get confused with. Okay.
Yeah, I always get those confused. All right, so this week we're looking for another actor or actress.
What do you think the level of this, before we give the clues? I think this one's a little tricky, I think. I don't think it's hard.
There's one clue in here that would give it away for me, but I don't know if it would give it away for everybody.
Right.
So we'll see. All right, so listen closely. Clue number 1, and I'm not going to tell you guys which one to me is the giveaway. Clue number 1, like this trivia game, I am a triple threat as well by starring on TV, movies, and authoring a book. Clue number 2, at a young age I learned to play the bagpipes, which helped me in one of my most famous roles. And clue number 3, while horror may not be what I'm known for the most, I did have the honor of working for one of the most legendary horror directors of all time. Who am I?
Yes. And should we say that you could will accept 2 answers on this one, technically?
Yes. This person may have... There's a stage name and a real name that you could use.
Yes.
But we'll accept either one.
Yes, either one. If you want to be fancy and impress us and give the real name, go right ahead.
Yeah. All right, guys, so we are ditching the Zubmondo this week in favor of the question of the week. And again, we got to come up... I came up with some names, Brian. I think we had Scary Queries or...
Oh, yeah.
Questions from the Crypt, or... I can't remember what my other one was.
Yeah, I have them written down. But yeah, and this one was actually sent to us by our friend David. Also goes by I can speak tonight. Horror Mailman on Twitter.
Yeah, and so... again, this is the kind of questions, guys, that we kind of want. So if you guys will send some in, we will read your question on the air and try to answer it to the best of our ability. And again, they can be personal questions. They can be discussion topics. They can be
Little House on the Prairie questions, right?
Little House on the Prairie. Yeah, we will talk Little House on the Prairie for 30 minutes if you let us. So here was his question. We know the love of roller coasters and horror movies brought you together, but in true Civil War honor, what are some things that you two differ about? what horror movies do you disagree on if they are good? So, as you guys know, Brian and I have incredibly similar taste. You know, when we came up with this podcast idea, the whole North versus South thing, I think in my mind originally, I thought we may have more disagreement on movies, and it just turns out that Brian and I just are incredibly similar in taste. Of horror movies, and we like we said earlier in the show, we both try to find the best in horror movies. So it's really hard to find something that we passionately hate, and that's where it kind of gets hard to talk about disagreements, because probably 95% of everything we do agree on.
Yeah,
which is great for friendship. It's not so good for
for
debate.
For the pun on our podcast.
Yeah. So. But I think there have been some movies. I mean, one recent example, of course, was Brain Scan.
Right.
And this, I think this question may have been submitted before that episode aired.
It did, yeah. Because that Brain Scan was released today as we're recording this one. This was the first day of it, and we got this question over the weekend. Yeah.
So that one was one we disagreed with, and even though I said I didn't, that I didn't hate the movie, I didn't like it nearly to the level that Brian did. So that's a very recent example that you can hear on the episode that dropped today. The other one, I think the biggest one probably in recent memory, was Midsummer.
Right.
Is the one we disagreed on the most. I really, really loved it. And I think, Brian, you were just kind of
Yeah, I had the anticipation factor, to quote our good friends Mike and EB over at Coaster Radio. Because the build up and hype for this was so big, and it took me a while before I finally got to see it after I saw all these. I mean, I did see some mixed reviews, but most of it, the louder voice was the positives on how great it was and how Ari Aster can do no wrong and all this. So when I went and saw it, and first of all, I mean, I think I said this on the episode when we talked about it, is that I don't think I would like it at all if Florence Pugh wasn't in it. And I think she was so good, and I think, and she's one of my favorite actresses currently. I think she saved it for me. But remember, I did say, I'm not trying to go back on what I said. I did say though that I would give it another shot. I have not yet been able to do so, but just because with the amount of stuff we need to watch, let alone want to watch, is it's that fine line. Like sometimes I feel like I'm like, I want to kind of watch this, but I'm like, oh, you know what? But I still need to watch this for the podcast. So I do want to revisit it though. And I almost think that'd be like a good future segment one day, is like a revisit episode. And actually, Julie thought was fun, because I think I was talking to her about it. I was reading the question aloud, and I was saying how I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how we're gonna answer this, because kind of like what you just said, it's like, I said, Tim and I almost like this same movies where are similar tastes in shows and in beer. I mean, I'm like, what is like, I'm like, this is a good, but it's a good question because it really makes you think. She actually came up with an interesting segment of where, like one of us comes up with a movie, and I think I told her, I think because I had mentioned too, the Brain Scan, that like you didn't like it as much as I thought you would, kind of thing. You said like where it's like a little segment where, we take a movie like that, and I have to try and convince you to like it by the end of the segment.
The only problem with that would be trying to find enough movies that we both disagree on.
Right. And and then like I said, like there was one movie where I think you were hesitant on it. You were kind of on the fence, and as we discussed it, you started to realize that you actually did like it better. Yeah. And, and it's so it happens. Sometimes I think you need it could have been the moment you saw it. So that's why it's like I think these are just two examples, the best examples we could give at this time. I really don't think there were anywhere. I mean, the one that we did not like the most, we both did not like. I think that was Haunt, right? And that was the one we both.
Now that one was interesting in that most everybody I knew loved that movie,
right? And then
for some reason, somehow we both disagreed on it. All right, we didn't disagree with each other. We disagreed with the general public on it.
Yeah, and the fact is that we watched it. I watched it a second time to watch it for the podcast, hoping that maybe I gave it an unfair shot. But the same problems I had the first time seemed to be It was the opposite. It like magnified the second time I saw it. But then again, you got to remember, Tim and I are huge haunt aficionados. And so that's like, that's really hitting us home. And that's why we liked Hellfest. And remember, I was a little lukewarm on the first time I saw Hellfest, even until I watched it the second time. And I looked at it without the anticipation factor and appreciated way more and really liked it. So, those are tricky ones to do. I did think of another one, though, that's kind of funny, a little off topic, is that, that I really loved Rise of Skywalker, and you were lukewarm on it, no pun intended.
Oh, that was a good one. Yeah, you're right. That's a really good example.
Yeah.
And one of the things, too, Brian, I was thinking is, it's a little difficult for us to answer this in that we live so far away from each other.
Right.
Because when we talk, Brian and I are typically either in our roller coaster chat talking about theme park stuff, or we're talking about stuff for the podcast, and we're talking about horror movies and stuff and pop culture. And so you don't get the, if we were both living in the same town and we saw each other all the time, we hung out all the time, I'm sure we would come up with topics that we disagreed on.
Oh, yeah,
at some point.
Yeah.
But the problem is, usually when we're talking about stuff we mutually absolutely love. And so it's hard to find disagreement there sometimes.
True. Yeah, I'm sure. And it's funny. It's like, and it's funny. There were things I could say that like I didn't have. We'll even go this a little step further. There are things that I never really, not that I disliked, but really weren't on my radar. But then you introduced them to me, and then I liked them. So we're only just building that brand up more. It's the problem. Yeah. Like board games. Like I always liked board games, but they never a big thing for me until you got me excited for Horrified, and I tried that and I got hooked, and now you got me looking at board game sites and I'm watching board game shows on YouTube. So it's like, yeah, it is true. It's like, it's because I think the impetus of a lot of these discussions are our fandoms that we like anyway. So, but I mean, and I have to say, like, at the same time, this is a great question to start off with, because it really kind of gets a lot of the discussion, brings out a lot of cool stuff like the Zabmondos did anyway. So it's a good job on David's part for coming up with a strong question right out of the gate.
That was a great question, and one really thought-provoking too.
Yeah.
I think we came up with some pretty good examples. Midsummer, Brain Scan, and definitely Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
With three that we pretty much I wouldn't say strongly disagree. We disagree on.
Yeah, because I mean, you didn't like. I don't think you would say you really hated Rise of Skywalker. You just had a lot of problems with it, and I kind of I mean, then again, I saw it like I had the advantage of seeing it like literally like I think 6 times in like a 3-day period.
Well, there's another thing we can disagree on. I will never go see a Star Wars movie 6 times in the same.
Yeah, there you go. There's another one. See, good job, David. You got us going. Yeah.
All right, the podcast is over. We just have irreconcilable differences.
Yeah, that's it. We can't deal with it.
We can't continue. All right, guys. So that's the kind of questions we want, guys. Just send in, and even you crazy discussion topics. If you want us to talk about, episodes of Seinfeld, I don't care. Whatever you want to talk about, we'll discuss it at length. So that was fantastic.
Yes.
We will be back here next. Oh, will we?
Well, so yeah, we have a little schedule that when you hear this, of course, things may change, but I think we have, since we when you're listening to this, you'll probably have already heard our bonus episode that's coming out the same week as the Brain Scan episode. So that, and then also the Dismemberment will be coming out. We pretty much had a lot of content in a short period of time, and so I think what we might do is we're thinking of taking the following week off of recording, but you won't see the difference, because you will get a bonus episode that we already kind of have done that will show up on a Monday in its place. It just won't be a traditional episode. And then we kind of decided, since we didn't forget, obviously, but our summer slaycation usually starts by now, but just with all the scheduling and different things, it was an intentional pushback, but now I think we may push it back even a little further to start, just because we don't want our 150th episode, which we got some fun plans for, we don't want that to disrupt the summer slaycation. And I mean, technically summer really goes to September anyway, so it's not like we just used to make it those
early summer months,
times.
Yeah.
But at this point, you know what? With the way the world is and life is crazy right now, why are we following that rule of the same 8 weeks. We'll extend our summer, especially because I feel like a lot of people lost a little bit of their summer in the beginning here. So we're gonna bring you the extra in our own way and make that in. So we have a couple of things. I think we have for sure. I know we're doing the 100% Summer Slaycation one. We're just not sure where it's going to be, which number it'll be, but we're going to do the Wrong Turn series. I know that for sure.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one to do.
And I think we talked about Final Destination series being in there, even though we had I know there's another one supposedly coming out, but who knows now when that's going to come out with everything was shut down for so long. So we might as well do that one.
Yeah, and I think we talked about doing the Omen.
Right, the Omen series. We had a couple in there. And I do know the one thing we don't run out of is we have probably like 10 years worth of Summer Slaycations.
yeah.
In the docket. So don't you worry about that one. But I think the Wrong Turn series is one I really, really am excited for, because I think out of the 7 that they're out, or was it 6 or 7? Maybe 6.
Yeah.
I've seen like 3 of them tops. So
yeah, same here. I mean, I may have seen 3. That's being generous. I probably have only seen 2 of them. So
yeah,
those will be good. And we're taking a quote unquote break from recording, but you guys will still have plenty of content. Maybe not in the form of a full episode, but you'll get bonus episodes and dismemberment, so you'll have plenty of stuff to listen to.
And I will say, you'll probably, or since you've already heard this though, I'm sure you will agree that our bonus episode that came out after the brain scan episode was worth its own episode, because that was the unprecedented bonus episode for Civil Gore.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, guys, so we will see you back here next week in some form or fashion. Maybe not in a normal episode, but you'll at least get our dismemberment for July. So look forward to that, and we will see you later.
And don't forget, beware of the Crimson Peak.